Uh, the current PPP has been extended for a further period, I think it's about 18 months. Within that particular period, the new tender must go out for a further PPP for a period which will be probably about between 10 to about 10 years. But I must stress that it's the objective of this Executive Council to ultimately bring Nkosi Albert Luthuli within the fold of the state. To do that, we have to build the capacity to make sure that the standards that have been set are maintained. This unit is also assisting with the Lembe Caesar water concession. The former borough of Dolphin Coast entered into a concession agreement with Caesar Water Proprietary Limited, called Caesar Water, for the supply of water and sanitation services to a defined concession area within the municipality. As the contract is entering its last 10 years of the concession contract, the Triple P unit will assist the municipality in making sure that the exit strategy for this contract is started very early to ensure a seamless handover at the end of the contract. The unit will also advise the city of Mshatuze on its proposed public-private partnership in relation to wastewater treatment and its reuse. The feasibility study for this project has been completed and is awaiting Treasury approvals before the issuance of its procurement document for the appointment of the private partner. All these programs will be monitored carefully to ensure that we get value for money, efficiencies, and ultimately equity. Program 4, internal audit, 156.495 million. The baseline decrease of 5.9% is due to a once-off allocation of 10 million in the prior year to cater for the completion of the 2019-2020 assurance operational plan. Assurance services, the unit will continue to provide assurance to accounting officers on the adequacy and effectiveness of controls implemented to mitigate identified risks. There are several audits planned for the 2020-21 financial year. These will include full scope reviews of processes and programs. A significant amount of time will be spent in determining the extent to which departments have implemented previous recommendations to findings from both internal audit and the Auditor General. And this is a very important piece of work that needs to be done. The effectiveness of any audit function is dependent on how active management is in effecting the required and recommended improvements. The outcome of all internal audit work conducted will be reported regularly to accounting officers and to oversight bodies to ensure there is a more proactive response to all audit issues raised. A process to ensure that executive authorities are regularly apprised of the status of department's control environment through quarterly reporting is now in place. And just to remind members of the different levels of oversight, you have the Provincial Audit and Risk Committee, we have the Executive Council, we have the Portfolio Committee, we have the Finance Committee, we have SCOPA. Between all those four levels, there should be sufficient opportunity for effective oversight. Additional focus will be given to the financial statement process. The unit will review the interim financial statements prepared by all departments and provide management with recommendations to improve the quality of financial reporting. Supply chain management, including contract management. Specialized IT audits will be conducted across all departments where certain transversal high-risk focus areas will be reviewed. Systems implemented by individual departments will be a specific focus area to ensure proper processes and internal controls are in place. Performance audits will be conducted on certain strategic provincial programs to determine the effectiveness and efficiency of these programs, as well as the value for money thereof. The structure of the unit still needs to be reviewed in light of the pending implementation of the hybrid model, and members will recall that it's intended to decentralize it partially to the bigger departments, namely health, education, and transport in particular. The Audit and Risk Committee plays a crucial role in the internal audit value chain and will continue to be supported by the unit. In order to ensure a more robust and dynamic approach in dealing with audit matters, the committee will be enhancing its reporting processes to the executive and other oversight bodies. The size of the committee is being considered to accommodate additional expertise needed and to respond to the pending implementation of the hybrid model. Chairperson, I note that my time is running out. Can I have your assurance for an extra, perhaps 5 minutes, which you can take off my response time?
Yes, Honorable MC, let me give you 5 minutes from your allocated time. We'll deduct your allocated time at the end of the meeting.
Thank you very much. Let's quickly then deal with risk and advisory services. The risk and advisory service is a subcomponent of the internal audit program. The unit is tasked with supporting departments, public entities, and municipalities on risk management and governance related matters. The strategic focus of the unit will include the following: broadening the assessment of occupational health and safety beyond head offices of departments to also focus on regions, district, and facilities. Detailed assessment and assistance will be provided to departments with regard to business continuity plans. The revised provincial risk management framework will be approved in the first quarter of 2020-21 and will be rolled out to departments during this financial year. The revised framework has a set of minimum risk management standards that departments must comply with. To enhance the internal control environment of the departments, the Provincial Internal Audit Services recently assessed internal control functions, and all were found to be inadequate. To address this, Provincial Internal Audit Services will be developing and rolling out the Provincial Internal Control Framework in June 2020, depending on government decisions related to COVID-19 pandemic conditions. Then we'll do detailed reviews of the state of risk management in public entities and municipalities, which will be done on a sample basis this financial year, together with COCTA, the local government risk management frameworks, which have been developed, which will be rolled out to local government institutions during this financial year. Forensic services, the KwaZulu-Natal, together with the leadership in various departments, the forensic unit within Provincial Treasury presents the required capacity towards the fight against fraud and corruption by assessing and performing comprehensive investigations that aim to deal with the root causes and associated recommendations. The forensic unit has conducted investigations since the promulgation of the PFMA in 1999. Most of the allegations received and investigated are serious and complex in nature, but these investigations are very costly and had created serious financial pressures for the unit. Now, I'm not going to deal with each of these paragraphs, but it contains very important information of the forensic unit activity. And let me just mention that 449 investigation requests were received by the forensic unit between the period 2009 to 31st March 2020. The majority relate to supply chain management irregularities. Approximately 83% of the investigation requests received were investigated and completed. Those that had warranted criminal investigation were referred to the law enforcement agencies for further investigation. The remaining 17% of alleged corruption and fraud cases reported are currently under investigation. Let me then move to 3.5, which is Program 5, Municipal Financial Management, which is 76.73 million. And members will note that we are steadily and incrementally improving the capacity of this particular unit and support to the municipalities. So therefore, the increase of 20% in allocation is due to a reallocation of funding from Program 3 to assist municipalities and municipal entities to transact in compliance with the Municipal Standard Chart of Accounts, regulations, and the funding of a new sub-program, Municipal Revenue and Debt Management. I'm not going to go through the detail of this particular section. Suffice to say that a memorandum of understanding is in a draft form at this stage between Provincial Treasury and COCTA to iron out our lines of responsibility towards this very important work. The Municipal Finance Management Unit consists of 5 sub-programs together with the responsible for the provision of technical support to delegated municipalities. Again, I'm not going to go through it in detail, but suffice for me to just list it as follows. The municipal budget will continue to focus on enhancing technical support to capacitate delegated municipalities on the preparation of multi-year budgets. The municipal accounting and reporting provides identified municipalities with technical support in financial management. The Municipal Support Program is committed to provide specialist support to municipalities, and the Municipal Revenue and Debt Management Sub-Program is being phased in during the 2021 financial year and is aimed at providing technical support to selected municipalities that can assist them in improving their revenue and debt management processes and controls. Honourable Speaker and honourable members, in conclusion, allow me to remind this House of the clarion call made by our President Cyril Ramaphosa on Freedom Day, where he implored us to work towards building a new society and a new economy. In his address, the President said, and I quote, "The true lessons of this COVID-19 experience will not just be about the necessity of social distancing, proper hand washing, and infection control. They will also be about whether we can turn this crisis into an opportunity to invest in a new society, a new consciousness, and a new economy. In this new society, the privileged cannot afford to close their eyes to the plight of the poor and sleep peacefully at night. This is the time when we should actively work to build a fair and just country." Close quote. As the Provincial Treasury, we commit ourselves to work diligently with all departments, public entities, and municipalities to ensure that this new society and the new economy does not remain a pipe dream. As a guardian of the public purse in KwaZulu-Natal, we reaffirm our resolve to being an active player in building a capable state through programs which I have already outlined in this budget speech. As we undertake the task of building a new society and a new economy, our focus as Provincial Treasury will remain on infrastructure support, general financial management, forensic services, and municipal financial management. I would like to take this opportunity to thank our Head of Department, Mr. Simiso Magagula, and the entire team in Provincial Treasury for their hard work and dedication, which is evident in the smooth day-to-day operations and the achievements made over the years by the department. I also want to extend gratitude to members of this House, the Honourable Premier, members of the Executive Council, my family, and my organization, the African National Congress, for their unwavering support and guidance they have given and continue to give me. I present Vote 6, Provincial Treasury for 2021 for consideration of this august House. Honourable Speaker, I thank you.
Thank you very much, Honourable MEC Ravi Pillay, for your very good and comprehensive presentation on the budget speech for Treasury. Honourable members, ladies and gentlemen, at this point, allow me to invite the chairperson of Finance Portfolio Committee, Honourable S. Nkosi, to present his chairperson's report for 10 minutes. Dlangamandla, over to you.
Thank you very much, Chairperson, Honourable Mkajwa, MEC for Finance in KwaZulu-Natal, Honourable R.R. Pillay, and all the members of the Executive Council that are present in this engagement, honourable members, guests from the public and institutions, and all officials of our government. Allow me to table this report on behalf of the KwaZulu-Natal Finance Portfolio Committee. We want to indicate that the core mandate of the Finance Portfolio Committee is to conduct financial and non-financial performance oversight, primarily on vote number 6, which is the Provincial Treasury, and transversally over the financial performance of all KwaZulu-Natal provincial government departments and public entities. Scrutinizing KwaZulu-Natal Treasury's budget and making recommendations thereon is part of the Finance Portfolio Committee's mandate. We want to indicate that the committee met on the 19th of March 2020 to consider the final version of the 2020-2021 annual performance plan and the draft budget allocated to vote number 6. The total allocation for KwaZulu-Natal Treasury for the 2020-2021 financial year is reported by the MEC R.R. Pillay to be 718.763 million rand, and is spread over a number of programs. And then want to indicate that MEC indicated that there is program 1 in this department, which is the administration, and there is no need for me to indicate the amount of money which is allocated because the MEC mentioned that, and the 3 sub-programs that are in this program. There is no need for me to mention it. On program number 2, the MEC indicated that there is an allocation of just over 49.9, which is allocated to this program. We want also to move to program number 3, which is financial governance, as it was mentioned by the MEC, and the amount of 219.783 million was also mentioned, including the sub-programs that are part of this program. Then there is this important program in the government, which is internal audit, which is located to the provincial treasury. And the amount of 156.495 million rand is allocated in its 3 sub-programs. Then the MEC indicated that there are 5 programs in this one, and the most important one, as far as the Finance Portfolio Committee is concerned, is Municipal Finance Program, which is allocated 76.7 million rand. Honorable Chairperson, allow me to conclude by indicating that the Portfolio Committee on Finance in KwaZulu-Natal unanimously accepted and voted in support of the 2020-2021 Annual Performance Plan and budget of vote number 6, which is for the provincial treasury. And we therefore recommend very, very strongly to the House to vote in support of this budget, as it has already been tabled by the MEC for Finance. Honorable Chairperson, allow me to thank the MEC for Finance, Honorable R.R. Pillay, and the whole executive of KwaZulu-Natal, the head of department, Mr. Magagula, and all officials of the provincial treasury and the legislature for working so well with our Finance Portfolio Committee. Finally, a word of appreciation goes to all 11 members of the Finance Portfolio Committee for their hard work in performing tasks of this busy committee. Thank you very much, Chairperson.
Thank you very much, Honorable Nkosi Dlangamandla, for your presentation. At this point in time, allow me, ladies and gentlemen, honorable members, to invite the Speaker from the ANC, Honorable MPP Zungu, for 8 minutes.
Chairperson, I can't hear.
Honorable Zungu, Manzini, we can't hear you. I think, I'm not sure whether there's a problem of a volume, but we can see you, but on the screen, but we can't hear you, your voice. Maybe you are on mute. Can you unmute? Can you unmute? Honorable Zongo? Can you unmute? Can you check, please?
I think she needs to say that she wants to have her computer audio on. Sometimes if you haven't clicked that on, it doesn't let you, even if you're unmuted.
Or can you check that one, what Honorable Mbali is saying, Mbali Ntuli? Check whether your computer is on. Yes?
Honorable Chairperson, order.
Yeah, what Chairman?
let us remind members that Honorable Ntuli cannot just pop in as if she's sitting down. It's just an official meeting. She must
Point of order, Chairperson. Really, we're trying to assist people here. I mean, this is
No.
Okay,
unacceptable.
okay.
I mean,
Chair.
let us carry on with this meeting.
Let us be in order. What we can do.
Can the officials
Your
assist,
farm
not
and
us?
Underberg. Let us carry
Order,
on with the meeting.
please. Order, please. What we can do, because it is allowed in terms of the rules, that maybe while Honorable Member Zungu is trying to connect, maybe what we can do, Honorable Members, we can actually skip to the next member who can speak, and then thereafter, and then invite Honorable Zungu to come back. How is that? So that we can save time. Is that fine?
Agreed. That is an order. You are allowed to do that.
Thank you very much, honorable members. At this point, Honorable Zongo, I will call you. You'll come back once you are connected. At this point, let me invite a speaker from the IFP, Honorable Member L.J. de Klerk, to speak for 5 minutes. Honorable de Klerk.
Thank you, Chair. In my general debate yesterday, I highlighted the policy deficiencies of the ANC as a party and their lack of good policies as causing the poor growth of South African economy. The ANC does have a post COVID-19 vision. It is a vision for a far bigger state with plans that includes new state enterprises and big spending on infrastructure. It will be financed in part by private pensions through prescribed assets and a reserve bank with compromised independence. The implementation would mark the defeat of any prospects for structural reform that includes sell-off and liquidation of state enterprises or introduction of flexibility into the country's wage structure to allow a greater job creation. There is no plan in what has been revealed so far to address the government's dangerously high budget deficit and growing debt. We, however, as a province, receive the bulk of our monies from National Treasury, and our provincial treasury is bound by what it receives. I have to state that the IFP and myself have the utmost respect for the Provincial Treasury and the MEC for Finance, Honourable Pillay, and believe that they are doing a good job, notwithstanding the province's fiscal challenges. The key focus includes improved audit outcomes across the province, as well as on budget spending, and for the province to remain cash positive. These tasks are critical, as many of the departments do not adhere to advice given to them by the Provincial Treasury. A good example of this is Department of Health, where the Treasury intervened to try and help the department. However, sadly, sadly there is no further funding allocated for this intervention, as the Department of Health intervention in this regard. It's very worrisome, as in the case of the Department of Health, it has been the leader of irregular expenditure in South Africa for the past 3 years. Honourable members, this is a very good example of how important funding is, and in that I stress, if there is no funding and it is hampering, it will hamper the good work that our Provincial Treasury wants to achieve. One of our province's main problems is clean audits, and the Treasury is pivotal in this regard. If there is not enough money, it will impact on the department's ability to give hands-on support to the different departments on programs like Operation Clean Audit cannot and will not be achieved. The same will apply in terms of municipal financial management assistance. At the time of the hearings, it became clear that Treasury for the past 3 years underspent the baseline significantly. This is quite worrisome because the department is pivotal, as I've stated, in assisting municipalities and provincial departments. It was observed that the department does not budget adequately for the Tutuka bursary fund due to the fact that the department tends to shift funds in the adjustment estimate and post-adjustment estimate processes to set off spending pressure in this respect of the transfer. The IFP implored the department not to underspend on their budget and to utilize all its resources prudently to support the struggling departments to achieve its clean audits. We believe that this is achievable and will support the Treasury where we can to make sure that our wonderful province can achieve the dream of 100% clean audit. I thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much, Honorable de Klerk. The next speaker is Honorable Zungu. Is Honorable Zungu connected now? Can I check? Is Honorable Zungu connected now? Not yet. Well,
not yet, Stano. IT still assisting her.
Okay, honorable members, let us proceed. The next speaker is from the DA. Let me invite Honorable Member F.A. Rogers to speak for 6 minutes. Honorable Rogers.
Thank you, Chairperson. Provincial Treasury sees a cut in the 2021 baseline budget from 725 million down to 718 million because of the imposition of the National Treasury and resulting in the budget cuts of 6.9, moving to almost 16 million in 2021 and then 18 million in the 2022-23 year. This is a red flag for us, Chairperson, moving into a post-COVID-19 era where the economic impact has yet to be fully assessed, as the MEC himself acknowledged earlier on. And although the department gave this committee the reassurance that service delivery will not be affected because of the reprioritization of funds, the DA still cautions for these cuts. Treasury, Chairperson, is by far the leading light when it comes to effective and efficient governance in our province. In fact, were it not for this Treasury, we wouldn't be anywhere near the position we're currently in now financially. Additional budget cuts of over 6 billion, as we've heard from the MEC, to fund the COVID relief program also still have to be calculated, as does the loss of revenue. And all of this, of course, will compound Treasury's burden in trying to ensure that there's fiscal compliance within provincial departments. Control and management of expenditure will become a crucial part of maintaining prudent budget controls, particularly when it comes to expenditure, Chairperson. We therefore need to be extremely circumspect when any additional budget cuts are considered, particularly for Treasury. A perfect example of this would be within Program 5, Municipal Finance Management. Although this program sees a healthy overall increase from 59 million to 76 million, including a welcomed addition, a new sub-program dealing with municipal revenue and debt management with an allocation of 7 million, one has to wonder whether this, in fact, will be enough. One of the leading challenges faced within local government at present is the inability to generate sufficient revenue. We've all seen this, and this is for various reasons. Unaffordable service charges, non-existent billing systems, and in smaller rural municipalities, the lack of possibility to generate revenue. These revenue challenges existed pre-COVID-19. The question is, what will be the impact on our municipal revenue generation and collection post-COVID-19? Job losses resulting in increased unemployment, small businesses, large businesses having to close their doors, a collapse in our tourism industry, to name but a few, are the challenges that we face lying ahead. This will most definitely have an impact on revenue generation at municipal level. And critically, this will affect the payment for rates and services. Already municipalities have adopted their budget with their inflationary increases in their rates and service charges. The question remains, Chairperson, will municipalities in the light of the scenario that I've sketched and the MEC sketched, be in a position to attain its revenue targets. Added to this challenge will be the expected future equitable share cuts to both the province and the municipalities, as we'll have to fund a portion of the COVID relief fund over and above the 6 billion in the outer years of our MTEF. You see, Chairperson, we're caught between a rock and a hard place. On the one hand, we've got Treasury, and on the other hand, we've got municipalities, and then in the middle, we've got tax-paying residents, and we've got what appears to be, or what is going to be, as the MEC said, the mother of all recessions and depressions facing us. So quite how are we going to deal with this and how Treasury is going to deal with it, it's of grave concern. As in yesterday's general budget debate, numerous speakers, including the MEC Pillay, highlighted ongoing challenges in supply chain management, both provincially and at local government. There's a welcome increase noted in sub-program 4 of program 3 to assist with supply chain challenges in local government and provincially. This raises two questions though, Chairperson. The first being, when the additional budget cuts are affected in the adjustment budget, and there should be no cuts to this sub-program. The second is that departments and municipalities should never ever become reliant on Treasury performing their SCM duties indefinitely. Furthermore, failing departments and municipalities should be required to be billed by Treasury if there's any intervention in their supply chain management, whether it comes to the assistance, the creation of capacity, or guidance within those areas. I'll be back. Thank you, Chairperson.
Thank you very much, Honorable Rogers. May I again check Honorable Zungu whether she is now connected?
I'm not so sure whether I'm audible enough, Chairperson.
Oh, yes, you are audible. Thank you very much. You can proceed, Honorable Zungu.
Thank you, Chairperson.
Your time is 8 minutes. You have 8 minutes.
Thank you, Chair. My apologies for the glitches that I've encountered before, but I would like to acknowledge all those that are watching, that are listening, including the entire leadership of the legislature, my chairperson, and the MEC, all the honorable members that are with me in this visual debate, and all staff present. Chair, thank you once again for being afforded this precious opportunity to debate on behalf of the Liberation Movement on the People's Budget. Today's debate comes at a crucial time where the sophisticated global pandemic is giving us serious setbacks as the government in particular, and it's an honor to debate on the special month of the youth. June month being marked as the month of young people of South Africa, and we are ought to commemorate the Youth Day in honoring of the bravest of the generation of 1976, like the likes of Tebogo Machinini, Hector Peterson, Hastings Ndlovu, and others. COVID-19 is compelling us to come up with other means of celebrating this prestige month, and we are looking forward to commemorating it visually. Chair, allow me to share the recent judiciary judgment handed yesterday by the High Court, Gauteng Division in Pretoria on COVID-19 lockdown alerts 3, 4, and 4, and have been declared invalid and unconstitutional. We must note that the national government indicated that they are still studying the judgment and will provide the full statement thereafter. South Africa is a constitutional democratic country, which means it is guided under the rule of law, and it is our country. As a collective, we need to respect, and the government of the day is respecting the courts and their decisions, even if those decisions are sometimes different to our point of views individually, but we have a right to appeal to the High Courts. Honorable Chair, it is important to confirm that the Finance Portfolio Committee did engage the Provincial Treasury through all drafts and its annual performance plan for 2020 and 21. Financial year, in more than 3 engagements, the committee was fully convinced that this APP met all requirements that it deserves to be supported. The chairperson of the Portfolio Committee has also alluded to that. The same Finance Committee engaged the Provincial Treasury on the 2021 budget to check the costing of all targets in the APP. A budget of 718.763 million was presented, debated, and finally accepted by Finance Committee. The Finance Portfolio Committee noted that the 2021 budget was down by 2,866 when compared to the 2019 and 20 budget of 721.621 million. Despite the reduction, the Provincial Treasury assured the committee that all APP's target will be met. Honorable members must remember that and note that COVID-19 by that time was not much reported in Africa. The Provincial Treasury stated that it will stick to economic efficiency and effective in its implementation of the budget. Honorable Chair, it is worth noting that both the draft APP and budget for year 2020 and 21 was taken to our people in line with the Freedom Charter clause that say people shall govern. That engagement was in Danakal in Majuba district ngomhla 6 December 2019. The officials of the Provincial Treasury had to present both APP and budget to the public, and dynamic and intensive engagement was ensued. Despite the budget cuts, the provincial government has been able to add substantial amounts of funds to the different provincial priorities. This is only possible because of the excellent way that the provincial budget is being managed and because of the continued implementation of cost-cutting measures, which helps us to focus on the expenditure on service delivery. This budget by provincial treasury is distributed to 5 programs, and the programs themselves are divided into sub-programs. That also was highlighted by both the MEC and the chair. But Chair, allow me to focus on program 1, which deals mainly with administration, with a total of 215.77.1 million having been cut when you compare it to the 2019 and 20 financial year from 220.209 million. Also, as program 1 has been indicated, it has also its sub-programs. Those will be operations kumasake. That is how we strengthen or we ensure that our people are getting the service that they require. Hence, we know very well that wonke ama members of executive are deployed to different districts to ensure that we strengthen the relations. We also try by all means to work closely with the municipalities. So they are all deployed and are doing quite well, and we appreciate as the African National Congress. Also, the community outreach and social responsibility through the intergovernmental unit, the HOD's office, continues to be very instrumental in driving the national treasury and local government sector, targeted towards meeting the minimum competency levels in the financial management of municipalities in the province. By that, we are covering the issue of the minimum competency, the municipal finance internship program, youth program, expanding the pool of financial skills in provincial government. Onke lama program mawabuka hlalo ama-program lanasiza ukugxilisa intando yabantu ngoba u-African National Congress okuyiyona nhlangano kuhulumeni nehola umhulumeni iyaqinisekisa ukuthi njalo kube khona ukuxhumana nokusebenzisana nabantu njengoba umengameli will urge or will ask abantu abasebenza kuhulumeni ukuthi bavume ukuthi bathumeke. Honorable Chair, the People's Liberation Movement which is the ANC, fully without hesitation supports this people's budget. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Honorable Zungu, for your speech. The next speaker is Honorable L.G. Seja from the EFF for 6 minutes.
Thanks, Honorable Chairperson. Greetings to you and also greetings to Honorable MEC Ravi Pile. Greetings to Honorable Chairperson, Honorable KK Nkos, and also greetings to Honorables of the House who are present in this debate. Chairperson, we are gravely concerned of the inability of this department to proactively assess the conditions of the province and respond to them. There has been no tangible sense of agency to manage the emerging provincial crisis, nor any sign of the treasury that comprehends the potential disaster awaiting sister departments because of the COVID-19 pandemic. Already sister departments like health, education, and social services are already vulnerable because of budget cuts. However, they will also be the most hit by COVID-19. Our assessment of the finance report and the budget must be restructured to contextually respond to crises we are facing, as well as to really vulnerable departments like education and health, who are the greatest victim of the ANC inadequacy and looting. These departments' lack of infrastructure opposes not only the most vulnerable of people, but most concerning exposes the maladministration compromising the distribution of the budget. From a holistic reflection of the budget, we draw three things. The department continues to underspend on building a much needed financial management capacity. The existing budget deficit not are corrected, and the ANC's entire elitist cohort have gotten away with the lack of investment in the provincial infrastructure, supplier development programs, and there are many failures to stabilize public debt, which exposes a lingering financial capacity and an inability of the department to address performance budgets and full their special responsibility as the treasury to go provincial economy and advance provincial department. Provincial revenues available to boost economic activity around this budget, but the loophole of operational efficiency weakens the entire economic ecosystem around our sister departments. Unregulated regular expenditure, compulsory kickbacks, and heralders turnaround times on invoices between small enterprises and respective departments are responsible for the collapse of MMEs and a direct compromise of economic revitalization strategy. As the EFF, we have observed that the active administration has sought 215.7 million to promote good corporate governance and achieve better oversight before we commend any proposed increase in budget. We must remember this is a treasury department without public confidence because it has shown no ability to help municipalities manage their finances, monitor infrastructure, spending in the relative departments, and has achieved very little in assisting department to achieve clean audits. Requesting an increase in budget that is so material and merely stating that this is cater for increases in the number of the planned OSS MEC outreach program is de-indigenous and cannot be entered the office of the MEC. The HOD and corporate service have been living above and beyond their own original budget without any significant and visible benefit from the variance. There exists no benefit in the previous variances of this function's budget. Why should the budget continue to be channeled into the sinkhole that is the MEC of the Treasury and his team? 49.9 million rands for sustainable resource management is 219.7 million for financial governance and 156.4 million for the financial audit, 796.6 million for municipal finance management. These are very unconvincing and questionable figures. During 2020-2019 amidst budget cuts, a lot of funds moved to special projects to cater for irregular expenditure. Consequently, specialized programs, equitable development and departmental needs were compromised. We as the EFF need funds to be committed to the key programs of agri-parks, agri-processing, farmer support, and an agenda of mainstream urban agriculture with collaboration with the communities and schools. We strongly are opposed to how the budget has been allocated and in their sense distributed amongst various departments. The ANC has ignored the prioritization of health, social department, the economic department, and education. That is necessarily not only as we combat the effect of COVID-19, but as we address deep-rooted issues in those sister departments. The budget must materially speak to the needs of our people. And we can only agree to support this budget when it does. There must be a decisive guidance of the budget to not only speak to relief and material support for artists, hospitals, schools, industries, and an activation of a vulnerable economy, which was compromised by the difficult period. But to also, in cognizance, create internal capacity and the collective functional development of all departments in KZN. Thank you very much, Aslan.
Thank you very much, Honorable Seja. The next speaker is from the NFP, Honorable Mlojwa, for 2 minutes.
Chair, we accept and sub 2021 annual performance plan and budget for vote 6, KwaZulu-Natal Treasury. Nevertheless, there is a significant decrease in 2021 under sub-programs. Management services mainly due to no additional allocation being made for the Treasury Health Assistance Plan, which was set to be finalized by 31 March 2020, as well as the budget cuts of 6.9 million being affected against this sub-program. We ask additional allocation to this sub-program to be administered, and we urge the department to avoid the high budget cuts as the cut threaten the efficiency and quality of service delivery. Where does the department stand with regard to the facilitation of infrastructure delivery and contribution towards poverty alleviation and job creation? The government made a call for procurement reform that are geared towards PPE and support for local suppliers and SMEs. We would like to put emphasis on the development of this reform and safeguard their adequate implementation within the province. We request that the department consider and address the following critical issues: the under-expending of budget due to internal delays in critical vacant posts because of lengthy recruitment processes, slow spending on infrastructure support project, compensation of employees. Budget will need to be reviewed over the MTEF to ensure that the growth is sufficient for existing posts, as well as the filling of critical new posts, taking into account the progress made in filling the 19 vacant posts. I thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Honorable Thank you, Honorable Mlojwa. The next speaker is from the ANC, Honorable Sonjeka. Your time, you are allocated 10 minutes.
Thank you, Honorable House Chair. Greetings to the Honorable Premier,
Honorable MEC Ravi Pillay, and all the members of the executive who are present in this budget debate. Honorable Chairperson, the Provincial Treasurer is tasked with the responsibility of being a guardian of the public purse. This responsibility requires that Treasurer becomes the best run department in the province, as they cannot monitor or tell other departments about something they are also lacking on. It gives me pleasure to that for the past, this department has received 10 consecutive clean audit. I do not know where Honorable Seja has been because he is speaking about something that we all don't know. Chairperson, as we debate this budget today, we are mindful of the unprecedented challenges of the economy it's experiencing due to outbreak of the COVID-19. We are told that our GDP could contract by 7%, which is the highest in the 6 decades. That the country might experience job losses of up to 1.8 million. A worst case scenario would push unemployment rate to over 50% from its current rate of 29%. In order to deal with some of the challenges, there are a package of decisive policy interventions that are required. This package of policies interventions must be capable of achieving amongst the objectives, reducing unemployment and youth unemployment, increasing black ownership in control in the economy, strengthening social justice and conditions for the poor and working class, improving the employment impact of infrastructure projects. Honorable Chair, I'm going to speak about 2 programs quickly. Program 2, I'm not going to deal with details because MEC and Honorable Chair in his report of the committee has dealt with them, but I'm going to talk about Program 2, that this year, Program 2 received almost 50 million rand in the current year, which is an increase from the previous year and continues to increase in the 2 outer years of the MTF. The main purpose of this program is to effectively manage and monitor the provincial and fiscal resources. According to Treasurer, the growth over MTF is a cater for operational costs for the Office of the DDG and inflationary cost. Program 3, which is financial governance, received 219 and 783 million. This is, I'm going to deal with one of the sub-programs, which I think is becoming one of the important sub-programs of this program, the accounting services. It is an important sub-program. It's becoming more important in light of the continuously negative audit opinions by the AG. And I think this one program that we will probably, for a few coming years, we will have to fund it properly so that this sub-program, so that we turn around the corner, both for the local government, for the municipalities and the provincial departments, so that we turn around the audit outcomes of this. Honorable House Chair, we continue to bemoan that Vote 6, although it is not a service delivery department, it continues to be underfunded, taking into account the growing demands of what they need to be doing. But excited as well that this is one department that is leading by example. They are doing more with less, and we think all departments should be following that example of this department. Honorable Chair, the Oxford Dictionary defined pessimist as a person who tends to see the worst aspects of things or believe that worst will happen. Pessimists point to ways in which life has deteriorated. That's the best definition of Honorable de Klerk by the dictionary, Honorable Chairperson. We in the ANC are opposite of this pessimist. We remain optimistic about the future. If we were not optimistic, we would have gave up the fight against apartheid. We would have said there's nothing we can do. So in the midst of the challenges that we are fully aware, we remain optimistic of the future. We think at some point we'll turn the corner. Now, it's not me that is defining Honorable de Klerk, it's Oxford Dictionary. Honorable Chair, despite all these challenges, the Provincial Treasurer in its 2020-21 APP has committed itself to achieving growth and stability through implementation of various strategic programs that will help drive the economy growth of the province. Working with other stakeholders, they are determined to contribute to an environment conducive to investment and job creation for our people in the province. Honorable de Klerk sees deficiencies of the policy, and because all what the ANC is now saying, the economy must be shared by all South Africans. It is deficient because we are now saying all South Africans must participate in the economy. It can't be that 26 years later, the economy is still in the hands of the few. The ANC fully support and appreciate the work that is being done by the leadership, political leadership of this department and the management of this department. The ANC full supports Honorable Chair, and I thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Honorable Sonjika, for your speech as well. At this point, honorable members, ladies and gentlemen, let me also acknowledge the presence of our Honorable Premier, Baba Kuzeni Siabingelela. Let me then proceed. The next speaker is from the MF, that is Honorable Member Rajbansi. The time is for 2 minutes. Honorable Rajbansi. Is Honorable Rajbansi present? Agak.
It means the chairperson is not present.
May we then proceed? We will come back to her. The next speaker is from the ATM, Honorable Pagati, for 2 minutes as well. Is Honorable Pagati present? None. The next speaker is from the ACDP, Honorable Mangaele, for 2 minutes. Is Honorable Mangaele present? Babu Mfundisi. None. The next.
No, Honorable Honorable
yes.
Chairperson.
Yes.
These three are debating to vote 8. They can't make it to this one.
Oh, okay. No, thank you very much for that indication.
So, and it means we must add those minutes to the IFP.
Let me proceed, honorable members.
It's not done like that.
Order, please, Honorable Msimanga. The next speaker is from the DA, Honorable Rogers, for 2 minutes.
Thank you, Chairperson. The Finance Committee is indeed a progressive committee, Chairperson, and its only focus has been on the fiscus and the proper implementation and expenditure thereof. One only needs to read the well-crafted resolutions resulting from that committee and its hearings. However, I need to remind the House of a resolution that was adopted last year, and that was the Transversal Resolution 35 of 2019, which required departments to submit monthly cash flows and monthly management accounts to committees. It's a futile exercise when resolutions are in fact adopted by this House but never implemented. And yesterday I spoke about this. This is an example of mediocrity, where in fact we took a decision in the House, a resolution, and that resolution has never been implemented. Chairperson, the reason the Finance Committee included this resolution was, amongst others, for committees to monitor monthly expenditure on compensation of employees and EPWP grant funds to avoid under expenditure. If the information is not forthcoming, as the MEC says, we've got SCOPA, we've got committees, we can do oversight, but if we don't comply with resolutions, it limits us in what we can achieve. Yesterday, Honourable Zigalala was on the money when he spoke about having to make every single rand count. With the fiscal challenges facing KZN post-COVID-19, we have to make it count. And to achieve this, we need to make sure that the system does not fail us, and we need to play it by the rules and ensure it's played by the rules in our departments. I thank you, Chairperson.
Thank you very much, Honourable Rogers. The next speaker is from the IFP, Honourable Sabisa, for 5 minutes. Baba Sabisa.
Honourable Chairperson, Honourable MEC, and Honourable members, the IFP welcomes the Provincial Treasury's budget allocation as presented this afternoon. The Provincial Treasury stands at the heart of the governance. We believe that the main purpose of this department is to always promote sound financial management practices in the province. In that vein, I want to congratulate the department for the 10 consecutive years of clean audit. This sets the tone that the department knows what ought to be done and does it. What remains now is for the department to effectively translate clean governance culture and practice to all other departments, entities, and municipalities in our province. While we appreciate the financial governance programs of the department, which are aimed at promoting sound financial processes in the province, we equally remain concerned of the billions of rands that the province loses through unauthorized, irregular, fruitless, and wasteful expenditure. According to the latest Auditor General's annual report released in November 2019, the province of KwaZulu-Natal incurred the most irregular spending of all provinces. This paints a grim picture of the financial management in the province. These billions of rands that are being wasted could have gone to service delivery to change the lives of our people. The state of our municipalities continue to regress in terms of a number of positive audit opinions received each year. We are aware that some of these regressions in municipalities especially are as a result of the lack of good leadership with skills and capacity other than factors of fraud, corruption, and political infighting. It is our hope as the IFP that the municipal support provided to municipalities in the previous year and this current year will yield positive results. As Honourable de Klerk said, the IFP supports the Operation Clean Audit campaign as it is a priority of the department in its programs. Honourable Chair, to make this campaign effective, we need to draw a line. All accounting officers, with no exception, must be held liable for the failure to implement the AG's recommendation. The IFP also welcomes and supports the Provincial Treasury for resuscitating the anti-corruption task team and the development of fraud case management system, which will be used to record, consolidate, and track all forensic investigations conducted within the spheres of government, amongst other initiatives. I fully agree with the MEC, as he indicated yesterday, that when doing investigations, there must be no rush or haste. But the IFP urges the Treasury Department that investigations done must be concluded and consequence management implemented. The IFP also urges the Provincial Treasury MEC for his stern action against government officials who continue to do business with provincial department, entities, and municipalities. This practice is continuing unabated even after years of Auditor General highlighting it as a big concern. These officials continue to hand out contracts to themselves and their friends. We call upon a system to easily trace them and prevent this scourge from continuing. Treasury, as a custodian of our provincial finances, with the transversal oversight role on all other departments, must act swiftly to put an end to this. The IFP supports the budget as presented. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Honorable Sabisa. The next speaker is from the ANC, Honorable M. Govender, for 10 minutes.
Thank you, Honorable Chairperson. Honorable Chairperson, let me just take a moment to say that we are engaging in this debate in Youth Month. And let us just pause a minute to remember and honor the sacrifices that young people have made towards the liberation of this country. And let us ensure as we proceed that we do not disappoint them. Honorable Chairperson, today I will be discussing programs 4 and 5 of Vote 6. And let me start by saying that the Department of Treasury can be likened to a bigger brother in this province. Apart from ensuring that the province's steadily diminishing equitable share is distributed in accordance with provincial priorities, it also has to oversee the expenditure of these funds in accordance with the relevant prescripts, regulations, and laws. And in times such as these, where everyone is crying out for additional financial resources to address the demands of managing the COVID-19 pandemic, it's not an enviable position to be in. However, Honorable MEC Pillay, this is your task, and I'm certain that your shoulders are broad enough to carry the responsibility. Honorable Chairperson, the Department of Treasury has, despite having a relatively small budget, also had to weather the budget cuts over the MTEF. We must, however, point out that the department has been underspending its budget and has also been carrying a large number of vacant posts. And this obviously has acted against the department, arguing to retain funds as unspent funds are taken back in this period of crisis. In terms of Program 4 Internal Audit, Honorable Chairperson, it's a very important program which assists in supporting good governance and accountability. The main purpose of the program is, as the MEC has outlined, to develop effective risk management strategies and governance, to build and maintain successful client relationships, to develop knowledge by creating a learning culture, and to build foundations for excellence to support the provincial government in achieving its objectives. This program is allocated 156.495 million. There are 3 sub-programs here, namely assurance services, risk management, and forensic services. The program has experienced a significant decrease in its 2021 allocation, attributable to a once-off allocation to finalize performance audits in 1920, as well as reprioritization of over 3.8 million relating to consultant costs from goods and services in Program 1. Honorable Speaker, whilst decreases in funding are not generally welcomed, we are in tough times, and tough decisions and choices are the order of the day. We must, as the ANC also point out, that we view the reduction of the reliance on consultants by provincial departments as a step in the right direction. And we have often bemoaned the undue reliance that government has on consultants. And if this current prioritization indicates a shift away from this trend, it is to be welcomed. Hopefully, we are saying goodbye to the phenomenon of double dipping as well, where particularly in municipalities, consultants are hired at high cost to do the work of people who have been employed to do that and are drawing salaries to do the very same things. We must also point out that this program has had continuous underspending, so the reprioritization of funds is not entirely unexpected. Internal Audit has been providing a shared audit service to all 14 provincial departments, and as part of its work, it has been conducting internal audit reviews and has been assessing the adequacy of the audit improvement strategies of provincial departments. We also note that there's a possibility that the current model of internal audit might change to being a decentralized hybrid model, but further details in this regard are awaited. In terms of its 2021 program, internal audit will be performing risk-based audits with specific focus on overall good governance. The unit intends rolling out the risk management tool, Cura, to all departments, selected public entities and municipalities to strengthen the awareness of risk management. And it's also going to conduct assessments, workshops, and training on risk governance management and internal audit capacity building within departments and municipalities. Although there has been a reprioritization, the 2021 MTF provides for various operational costs as well as forensic audits and investigations, which are demand-driven through requests from clients or referrals from assurance services. The forensic audit services will be conducting detailed follow-up audits to ascertain the extent to which departments and public entities are implementing recommendations arising from forensic investigations. And as has been stated, the Internal Audit Unit will continue to play a significant role in the Operation Clean Audit campaign. It will also monitor the fraud prevention strategies of all departments and public entities. Honorable Chairperson, let me now move to Program 5, Municipal Finance Management. This one is a relatively new program, having been established in 1819 in accordance with the new generic structure for all treasuries that provides for an integrated structure in respect of the Municipal Finance Management Unit. This program is allocated 76.73 million, and there are two sub-programs here, Municipal Budget and Municipal Support Program. The program has been engaging in internal reprioritization. Perhaps we can call it taking from Peter to pay Paul. And it has reprioritized funds in the amount of 16.141 million from Program 3 and Program 4. The funds have been reprioritized from goods and services and have been allocated to Program 1. This program, where there has been reprioritization, has been also has done this to cater for the appointment of consultants in respect of financial management support to municipalities. Honorable Chairperson, we are all aware of the dire state of financial governance in many of our municipalities, and many have indeed been placed under administration. The Municipal Finance Management Unit has been providing technical support to delegated municipalities, and its key activities have included monitoring the budgeting framework by municipalities, providing guidance on budget planning and implementation, and various other considerations. There were 13 municipalities that were provided with financial management support and technical reviews of their annual financial statements in 1920, and there were 11 projects undertaken, including tax-related support, grant management support, and specialized technical support. The department has also provided significant support to municipalities and their entities in the implementation of the M-SCORE program regulation. Honorable Chairperson, in terms of the Municipal Finance Support Unit, this work is very, very well supported. We think that this is what is required to put our municipalities' houses in order, and we welcome this. We also welcome the drafting of a provincial MOU between Treasury and COCTA because this memorandum is going to outline the responsibilities of the two departments and will assist in creating an enabling environment to deliver support more effectively, whilst assisting municipalities to improve their audit outcomes and building capacity. In conclusion, Honourable Speaker, let me point out that the Provincial Treasury is doing sterling work, and we must appreciate that. We would want the issues of under-expenditure and vacant posts addressed, and we are certain that this will be done. There is an efficient, hard-working team at the Provincial Treasury, and their efforts to ensure that the public purse is well managed are not unnoticed. In this regard, Honourable Chairperson, given the concern about potential abuse of public funds in the procurement of PPEs and other necessary goods to combat COVID-19, we must welcome the department's plan to include a review of compliance with the recently issued Department of Public Service and Administration circular on dealing with COVID-19 as part of its program of assessments. Honourable Speaker, Chairperson, let us also express our appreciation to all frontline workers who are making tremendous sacrifices to keep us safe. Let us repay them by ensuring that we keep those around us safe by wearing a mask, washing our hands regularly, and maintaining a safe social distance. Honourable Chairperson, as we meet today in the time of Corona, let us remind ourselves that yesterday was the 69th day of the national lockdown, and we had a total of 35,812 cases of infection, 1,455 new cases, and 755 deaths. Let us thank our government for placing our lives above all else and for embarking on actions that have been designed to save lives and stay the rapid rate of infection of the coronavirus in our province and country. Honourable Chairperson, the ANC supports this budget.
Thank you, Honourable Governor. Before I go to the next speaker, can I check whether Honourable Phakathi is around? Not yet. Honourable Mangele is around? Not yet, because we just got an indication that Honourable Rajbansi is debating in vote 8. So it means that all of these 3 members is now confirmed that they are not debating under vote 6. Honourable members, let me then proceed and invite once again our Honourable MEC for Finance, MEC Pillay, to give his response. Let me indicate and remind the Honourable MEC that now you are left with 15 minutes because we deducted 5 minutes earlier on. Thank you so much. Msonish, over to you.
Thank you very much, Chairperson, and let me also acknowledge the presence of the Premier and all the honourable members of the House. Let me thank all those who have contributed in what was largely a very constructive and sober and adding value in the way the members made their inputs, and I appreciate it. Honourable KK Nkosi, the Chairperson, thank you for your support as always and the unanimous support of the committee for this budget vote, vote 6, and we hope that the relationship will continue as it has always been. Honourable Zungu, thank you for your input, and may I add also that we also note the High Court judgment, and we certainly do respect the courts of our land. I think our president has been very clear that we are a democracy and citizens have the right to take matters to court. Having said that, I think I must express my reservations, and I expect the matter to finish in the Constitutional Court, because even though it might not be practically relevant as we go forward, it's very important for posterity that the Constitutional Court sets out the principles that should be applicable in matters like this. Honourable de Klerk, I think, yes, we've been together in this House for a long time, and we'll continue to have these ideological or political, philosophical approach differences. I think we are very clear as the ANC as to what is our policy framework. I think it is universally acknowledged as a very sound policy framework, but we are the ones who have been the first to acknowledge the shortcomings in implementation and in capacity, and that is receiving very, very urgent attention every day. I think I respect Honorable de Klerk and would expect a sharper argument and response from him with regard to the role of the state. I said yesterday that the worldwide, in times of crisis, and especially when the underbelly of poverty and the fault lines in society is being exposed all over the world, there has been almost a unanimous cry to say that the state has a bigger role to play. That doesn't mean the private sector is crushed. In fact, the private sector must grow, but under the supervision, under the policy framework of the state. I think just yesterday, it was announced, or the day before, that our banks, our banks are before the competition commission for alleged violations of the policies with regard to currency manipulation. Now, I make that point not because I want to smash the banks down. I make the point because we say that all of us are accountable, including those who are might seem unreachable. Honorable de Klerk, yes, no, our state, we are committed to building our state-owned entities. On the one hand, we've got a rationalization program, which we are far advanced, and we are committed to that. On the other hand, we think there are certain key state-owned enterprises which can provide an effective machinery to implement some of the policy frameworks of the state. And as much as you might disagree, for example, on South African Airways, I'm sure you yourself would be proud if we could resuscitate it, but learn from the mistakes and not repeat it, and have an efficient operation that can be a tribute to what a state-owned enterprise could be like. Honorable Rogers, I think again that we thank you for again a sober and constructive contribution. I think we're on the same page about the cut of budgets. We're on the same page about its probable impacts and what we need to do to overcome this. What we can't do is be paralyzed about it. We put the facts on the table, as hard as they may be, as difficult as they may be, but then we roll up our sleeves to do the work that we need to do. I note you spoke yesterday and you mentioned again today about the resolution on monthly cash flows. I can assure you from our side, we have no problem in being able to comply. It seems to me that there's just some communication hiccup because we very often on the monthly basis or whenever we're having portfolio committees, we receive the resolutions. And if this resolution was amongst them, then we would have responded to it, and I'm sure all departments would have been responding to it. I can tell you that each department does a monthly financial report to its own MECs, to their own MECs. So it's a matter of taking the same information, customizing it to a template that we could possibly agree upon, and then submitting that particular information. Honorable Seja, okay, it's a little bit difficult to respond to your input because you made some very sweeping statements without any substantiating facts in the matter. I think you're probably misled in respect of the special projects, which is really accounting and audit related and irregular expenditure related programs, which we have to be able to respond to specific cases. That is the amount that goes there. And we would always have to report on all our work. So I really don't understand your objection to the MEC's outreach program. I think if you read the speech carefully, or if you begin to get a sense of our budget, you will see that the points that you make about health, DSD, and education and economic development are already taking 80% of our budget as a province. Health and education alone are the two biggest line function departments. So your point is, I think the way you put it perhaps was unfortunate, but it's completely unfounded on the facts of the matter. You do give me a ray of hope when you talk about stabilizing public debt. It's good to hear the EFF speaking about stabilizing public debt, but that comes with consequences because accounting is a two-way thing. If you're stabilizing one, then it has an impact on the other. By the way, I might actually disagree with you that a little bit. Yes, we agree we must stabilize debt, but in this age of corona, and you look at what is happening in all the other parts of the world, I do raise the question as to whether the 500 billion as currently constituted is going to be enough, and that whether there is room for a more creative approach to a stimulus package. I'm actually finding it difficult to believe that I'm raising that as against you having understanding of your party political position. But the bottom line is that health, education, DST, and economic development represents 80% of our budget. Honorable Mlotshwa, thank you, I think, for your input. Let me just say that with regard to health, several other members raised this question. It's not that we've abandoned health. Yes, we didn't have money to continue with the intervention until August last year, and there was a little bit of a hiatus while we looked at it. But health has now come back with its own 22 million rand, which they allocated from reprioritization, with which they want to fund the intervention. But that was just before COVID. So we'll hope and wait and see as to whether that 22 million can survive the reprioritization having regard to COVID. But I'm of the view that it should, because it will be money well spent. If you look at the size of the budget of health, close to around about 50 billion rand, then I think spending this money will help to get bigger efficiencies in the big line item expenditure and will pay for itself. I think procurement reform is an issue that's very much on the agenda. Perhaps I should say at this point that there's two aspects to it. You have, of course, the medium-term one, which is the Public Procurement Amendment Bill, which is in the system. It has not an act yet, and we will have to engage on that when the time comes. For the moment, we'll have to rely on these regulations in dealing with the COVID challenges. And I want to raise an issue that is likely to come into the public domain in a big way, that these regulations issued by National Treasury has a whole lot of annexures. And those annexures, they have, I wouldn't even call it recommended prices, because it's not a recommended price, but it's a price which they have calculated should not be exceeded. In other words, those are maximum prices. They should not be exceeded. Now, that should not be a reason for SCM practitioners in the departments to too easily pitch it at that maximum level. They should negotiate. The regulations of the 1st of April 2017 authorize them to negotiate to get the best possible prices. And as the procurement terrain changes, because it is fluid, it's true that prices jumped very sharply in the early stages of the COVID period, when there was a shortage of many things, including basic things. But as we're building our capacity, we should have better negotiating ability to bring down those prices, and that will be something we must watch very, very carefully. Honorable Sir Sanjitla, thank you, and for your input as usual. I must say here that in the first draft of the reprioritization exercise, just to give you a sense of how difficult it is, in the first draft of the reprioritization, this budget of 700 and odd million rand is proposed to be cut by 113 million rand in order to make our contribution towards the 6.2 billion. It's not final, of course, because we are engaging National Treasury about the matter, and of course, I'm sure it will go to the President and the national leadership as a whole, but that's the extent to which each department, including Treasury, may have to contribute. Honorable Shlabisa, thank you for your, again, very sober input. We really appreciate it when even your criticisms are taken in good spirit, because you mean it well, it is well-founded. We agree with you on those aspects of criticism, and we want to assure you that we do draw the line on the consequence management. I believe as we go forward, we'll start to see evidence about this, that it won't be as we are sometimes criticized or talk and no action. There is action underway, and we'll just wait for the proper time when it can be taken to the public domain. Honorable Maggie Govender, I appreciate your input as a whole. I think we agree with you fully on the inputs that you have made. The gaps that you have identified correspond perfectly or equally with the back gaps that we have, and we are working on it. What we must maybe just, with regard to the MSCOA program, it's a critical program. The capacitation of local government is a critical part of our work, and we'll have to systematically increase our capacity to do so. But just to alert you that with regard to MSCOA, they are moving over from the manual system to the electronic system, and there's a little few hiccups there, but we're hoping that that will be resolved very soon. Just on the same breath about the health department and the interventions and the internal audit decentralization. It's a matter we still got to finally resolve, but there was a calculation made that, for example, that if we had to build internal controls and internal audit capacity within health at a first phase, it would cost about 38 million rand, if my memory serves me correct. And obviously, because of budget pressures, the question was asked, can we afford this? And our response is, can we afford not to? Because we believe that this investment will save the bigger monies running into billions of rands. In conclusion, Honourable Chairperson, let me say that let's keep our eye on the ball where we are at the moment. I think, led by our Premier, we have a very coherent program, and I've outlined the 4 pillars of the medical health side, the tending to the vulnerable, the compliance with regulations, and then, of course, the most complex of all, economic recovery. But I can assure you that a lot of energy is being put into the implementation of all 4 pillars. It can never be smooth. I mean, nowhere in the world is it smooth. Let us also understand that, and I just wanted to take you through this because we mustn't think that we are alone in the world in this particular challenge. Australia will have a 6.7% contraction in its economy. France 7.2%, Germany 7%, Hong Kong 4.8%. It's only India and China that are still in the positive terrain of 1.9 and 1.2% respectively. But remember, they are dropping. They are dropping from the 6, 7, and 8% to a 1.2 and 1.9%. Portugal 8%, Spain 8%, even the Russia minus 5.5, UK minus 6.5, USA minus 5.9. So we are in this in the world together with this particular economic crisis. But we see the opportunities which we must take. As we've debated very often as to why are we the victims of a import policy. I don't want to reduce it to slogans about protectionism and so on, but I believe that we need to be acting in the national interest on many of these fronts in promoting local production. And this is an opportunity to do so because the supply chain systems of the world has been disrupted. But to do it, we all need to pull together. And we're very encouraged by the private sector's response. I think the private sector also understands, by the extent to which they have been hit, that they have to partner with government if we are to overcome this. So concluding my final words, Honourable Chair, is thank you very much. Let us rise to the challenge that COVID-19 presents before us. Let us not falter. I thank you very much.
Thank you very much, MEC Ravi, for your responses as well. Let me again take this opportunity and appreciate the presence of our Honorable Premier, Ubaba Ukuzeni, for blessing this session as well. Let me also extend our appreciation to our Honorable Chair for Finance, Honorable Nkosi Dlangamandla. Let me thank all honorable members and heads of departments and other officials, members of the media and other distinguished guests. I think we had a very fruitful budget debate on the finance vote 6. I think we have come to the end of our meeting. But again, let me once again thank you, all of you honorable members, for conducting yourself in a manner that is actually preserved the decorum of the House. With those few words, I thank you so much. Can I then, honorable members, agree that we have come to the end of the meeting?
Yes, thank you.
In order, Chairperson. Thank you so much, Zwide, for handling our today's meeting. It was a job well done. We treat them well. Thank you so much. Then
Thank you very much, Tom and honorable members. Honorable members, can we then confirm that we are now adjourning the meeting?
Yes.
Yes, Chairperson.
Am I not leaving anyone behind?
We are in your hands, Chair.
Thank you very much, honorable members. The meeting stands adjourned. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Bye, everyone.